Peace and love, everyone. Welcome to this talk on the full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio that has just passed. And while it is the end of something, quite often we can find that in a full moon, the next 6 months are going to require us to undergo this process. A space in limbo is like how I'd like to describe this, especially with the energy of Scorpio. So there's two things that are happening here. There's this concept of change, that change is constant and change is inevitable. Metamorphosis and transformation is also inevitable. But what we also can embrace is the journey through that process. So I'd like for us to go through the transits that are happening right now and how it is that they are speaking to us in profound ways, allowing for us to see where we can embrace this new transformation, a new metamorphosis of some sort that is occurring for you right now and within the next 4 to 6 months. Where Scorpio is in your chart is where we deal with our intensity and intimacy when it comes to other people. Scorpio represents the part of us that after the quick small talk or the quick honeymoon phase of a relationship, that one gets really down and dirty into the areas of another person that others can't see. And so it's deeply related to the ability to trust other people. It's deeply related to the ability to not trust other people. This is a big thing here. Scorpio also represents divorce, because what happens here, when you look at Scorpio's ruling house, the 8th house, after the 7th house, once we get married, we now decide to come together intimately. And if one can't trust or things don't work out, Scorpio represents the separation of those things as well. And if your relationship thrives in its 8th house Scorpio energy, it becomes truly something to aspire for. It truly becomes something that has allowed you to grow and change. And I think that's where a lot of people trip up in relationships. They get in for the fun part, and then once it starts to get real, right? We start running for the hills. And when you're able to master this part of your chart, you'll know when to leave, but you'll also know when not to. You'll also know which relationships just require more of your persistence and tenacity. It requires more of your belief in self. And through the process of the 8th house, one is transformed through their relationship. And you can find this externally with your relationship with other people, right? But also internally, your relationship with self. But quite often, the Scorpio energy requires another person. It requires someone else. Scorpio is materialistic in its old way. Sometimes we miss this part. Like when we talk about shadow work or going down in the depths of yourself, that's also Scorpio. But the part of us that goes down in the depths of ourselves comes out and recognizes who we are and then is ready to share that with someone. Once you've learned yourself and then you go and you're vulnerable with someone, that's also the principalities of Scorpio, because the externalization is a part of what happens here that we quite often forget in our spiritual worlds. We think that it's all about self, but once we are in the terrain of Libra and Scorpio, everything is really happening externally, and we're learning how to be truly who we are in external triggers and all of those things. And what's really interesting about this one, different than, everyone that happens every year, is that it's an eclipse, and that's because the nodes are involved. So we've got the South Node in Scorpio. And what this means on a collective level is that our connection to these concepts we're kind of walking away from. We're kind of taking them, putting them in our backpack and venturing off towards where the sun is at right now, which is Taurus. And so for many people, this may look like various things. Like it might look like you taking what you learned from a divorce settlement and moving on towards finding your own real value and self-worth. For some people, it may be recognizing that they have undergone the cocoon process, you know, and then now it's time for you to grow in Taurus, where you plant seeds and you start to grow life. You start to grow plants. You start to nurture the parts of you that you want to see expand and to really become something of value. So a lot of us are mastered Scorpio, either through shadow work, learning how to trust other people, learning how to be vulnerable with the right types of people. Another aspect that's happening with the nodes involved, because the nodes will expose us, because the south node is where we're familiar. And so you'll find more shadow stuff in the south node because we're just sitting there just being comfortable in the south node when we're supposed to be going into the unknown. And right now, in a general way, the unknown is that north node in Taurus. So what's happening here is also letting go of like the ways of this scorpionic energy to kind of overtake us. And some of these things that I like to share with you are being really connected to survival and being overprotective. This happens a lot in Scorpio when we get a little too idle here. And this is deeply connected to Scorpio's classic ruler, Mars, which is a survivalist, right? But Mars actually implodes on himself in Scorpio, right? So you don't always see externally, but the person themselves, wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, you are dealing with your own need to survive and also maintain face, like maintain that you are okay, that you're stable, that you can handle it. That happens a lot with Scorpio. And so we're moving away from this a little bit. Like you're taking the lessons that you learned about how to survive, but now you're putting it more towards the unknown, where the thriving is occurring, which is the sun in Taurus, and most especially the north node in Taurus. And this concept of looking out for danger also is a big thing with Scorpio, in order to protect ourselves. So you may be dealing with almost like a trauma response and looking for danger, looking for the signs, looking for the red flags when there really aren't any. Like you've really done that work. You've really done the stuff that has put you in places of fear, and you don't have to look anymore. Some of us may actually be dealing with the fact that there are no triggers, but you're still feeling triggered, right? Like you might actually just look around you, be like, wow, like everything's okay. Everyone is okay. So why am I feeling in such a state of survivalist? And if you're dealing with that, all of these are hinting to us holding on to that south node instead of taking what we learned and moving towards Taurus. So this full moon lunar eclipse is about really drawing a huge conclusion, a real understanding that, you've come out of the rags part of your journey towards riches. You've come out of that. It's like when you take somebody who maybe hasn't lived, in a room or even in a bed for a while, and then they're finally put in the bed, and they may still do some things that they had to do when they weren't in that bed. Like they were sleeping on the street or on a bench or whatever. And they had a way of sleeping. They had a way of looking out. They woke up every few hours or something, anything that it took for you to survive. And now you're waking up and you're seeing you're in this luscious bed. Like it's okay. I can enjoy the bed. I don't have to look around. There's not anybody. There's no danger here. And this full moon is really going to help us to see that. And you'll feel the intensity of the emotions as they're rising and ebbing and flowing, because they are, our bodies are responding to past traumatic experiences. And the body has to catch up. Wherever we're dealing with water signs, it really is a body experience in the emotional state, because the body is itself the emotions. So when we're dealing with Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, and ending in any sort of full moon energy or any sort of energy that emphasizes your water, you're going to feel in your body, you're going to feel your emotional shifts, you're going to feel these things. And the more comfortable you are with it, the more that you can really coax yourself, nurture yourself, nourish yourself to be more in that space, in that stabilization space. Because what this full moon is going to allow you to do is really walk away from the things that are allowing you, that are keeping you from manifesting. And you guys, if you've been following me on this channel, I've been really big on manifestation. Being that I have a lot of Taurus in my chart, and I also have North Node in Taurus too. So I am also in this life learning how to manifest. And so I think that it's a really important talk for me to do here, you know, because I don't necessarily do a general talk all the time, but being that there's a lot of this energy that I'm learning too, I thought I would share with you guys that the power of manifesting is really interesting, because it is about the concept of creating from the unknown. But when we're dealing with this Taurus and Scorpio axis, the unknown can be a very fearful thing. And a lot of us could even be more comfortable in the crisis and survival era of our lives versus the unknown, which is once that survival and crisis is over and we're in the unknown where there's peace. Like, you might even find that you've been addicted to that survival state, and you really have to like own the unknown of your peace, because it's from this peaceful state that your manifestation and the focus of manifestation is really starting to happen. I think that what's really also important, I think, for people who maybe don't have as much Taurus in their chart, that this energy, right, because it's a full moon, so the full moon is opposing the sun, and so you may not be able to even see how bright your manifestations already are. This may be a time where it's really important to just sit down and look at the things you have around you, and maybe even just write a thank you list to the items in your home, the items in your space, in your workspace, the items that you use to produce and carry on throughout your day. Like, really giving thanks for these items, and thanks to whatever it is that you need to give thanks to. You know, we all have that sovereignty, but to be in this state of gratitude and peace really almost helps to cloak you into this unknown Taurus energy. And where you have these placements in your chart are going to speak to where you're learning how to do this, and where you're really learning how to appreciate and manifest. So let's go through the placements really quickly. With Scorpio in the first house, you're really learning that your self, like, and how people have seen you. You've been in such a crisis state. Maybe you felt like people wouldn't socialize with you or talk to you or really just be impressed by you. And you're really letting that go, because you may be finding that people really are. And when you look at your relationships, right, where Taurus is in the 7th house, you may have a battle here if you're not cognizant of the beauty of how the dust has settled. That's what it is. How the dust has settled, or how the water doesn't settle, but how when water is still, you know. And so the dust that's settling for you is in your relationships, and the people that you have created relationships with, they are really where you want to put a lot of your appreciation towards. They are the things in your life, as these people. Most specifically for you guys who have Scorpio in the 1st house and the 7th, and Taurus in the 7th. And if you find that you're fighting with your partners right now, it's very cognizant. It's really important to be cognizant of maybe you are fighting a trauma response versus the actual person even. Because the person is there. They're right there with you. If you have Scorpio in the 2nd house, you may have had a lot of crises and a sense of survivalist around your money. Yeah, you really may have. And you may have recognized that you've had to do certain things, you know, to hold your value, to stabilize your value. You may have really had to dig far in the depths of your own psyche to understand where you had lacked value, and now you may have a trauma response towards these things. And it'll be very highlighted if you're finding that you are in conflict or fighting with, are people investing in you? You know, are people giving you the shine that you deserve, or the value that are they speaking about your value enough? You know, and if you're looking for that, that's definitely something that might signify a trauma response, because you do have people who are invested in you, and it's maybe not even about the amount, it's the quality. And to be very appreciative of those who really have, even who are going to, or the ones who want to invest in you, but the ones who already have, the ones that you already have in your pocket. That's going to be Taurus in the 8th house. So this full moon is really allowing you to have closure with that old version of yourself that had to survive and had to fend for themselves and see their value maybe when others didn't. Survive off of creating that value. That phase of you is over. And that's really what the South Node is saying here. And the full moon wants you to come to closure with this, with over the next 4 months and 6 months. And for some of you, change may be instant. And for some of you, it may really take that the entire scope of the next eclipse for you to really get that it's over. You know, so it's really up to you. But this window of time, this pocket of time that the universe is giving you, is granting you, is going to show you the possibility of, if you focus on your manifestations of who you've already invested and appreciate your already investors, that the next 4 months will bring that closure to a very final closing vault. If you have Scorpio, the 3rd house, this is about speaking in a way that maybe you've had to fend for yourself. You may have to communicate and hold your guard up, maybe even protect yourself in some way. You know, you may have had to learn how to say no's, and maybe that was the journey for you. Or maybe you just were saying a lot of yeses and you were finding people were taking advantage of you, or maybe people were dealing with some sort of secrecy with you and how you're speaking, and it was all created in this trauma space. And so what's recognizable here is that you may be in some sort of conflict with like people who may seem to have advice for you, and how this could feel like a conflict because it could almost appear to be like they are criticizing, or they may appear like they are trying to pull you down, but that's an old version of what you had to undergo. And really this communication that you're having with the people who are your coaches, who are your gurus, that, you know, very similar to the last placement. It doesn't matter how many, but it's more about the quality of the coach and gurus and the people who have advice for you and what they could provide for you. And really being able to recognize and see that, so that the next 4 to 6 months, you're really putting a closure and changing the way that you communicate. And that's not always an output in the 3rd house. It also can be a receiving end that we often, you know, overlook. But it's also in the way that you are receiving how people say things, the inflections they say it. You know, do you feel like you have to read between the lines between what people are saying? If you're finding that you're in any of those situations, this is signifying that, you know, lunar eclipse in your 3rd house with the South Node there. You know, letting go of that survivalist in communicating with people. And getting past the small talk and getting right to the higher way of communicating. You know, not higher, but, you know, just like a more elevated way of communicating. One that is speaking and teaching and, you know, really taking things to another level, rather than the same old fights, you know, the same old verbal fits that one could get into in this placement, especially at this time with this conflict. If you have Scorpio in the 4th house, excuse me, this may be connected to feeling like you had to survive in your home. Maybe your home felt unstable at certain times in the past. Or just not having a home. This is a perfect example of the homeless person who now sleeping in the bed, right? And you may be really recognizing that you are having this brand new version of you that everyone is seeing, right? This is a very public place, so you may be one of the people who People are recognizing you, and you're having to look at where you came from and how that has shaped you, and shaped what people recognize about you. And that could be a part of it, shaping what people have recognized about you. So if you're having conflict with, like, you know, how people see you, your reputation, or anything like that, it's really a significant sign to look at the fact that you should be appreciating where you came from and how you got there, and being ready for the new version of you that doesn't have to identify so strongly to their past. With Scorpio in the 5th house, this is connected to maybe feeling unsafe amongst strangers, or just, you know, people that you don't know that well. Not feeling safe around even anything that's connected to, like, feeling innocent. And maybe you have felt not innocent, or other people have felt not innocent around you. So there's this need to kind of fight with friends and fight with everybody, or not trust people, like not trust people at all. Not just like your intimate relationships, but just, you know, a person that you met at a party, you know, just having trust issues with wanting to meet new people. Maybe feeling that people can rob you of your joy, you know, having to really fight really hard to stay happy. And you may have some stories here that really pull you to want to protect this part of you, but the Taurus North Node and the Sun being here right now is really shining a light on the friends that are there for you, and the people, the movers and shakers that want to see more for you. And so you don't have to focus on maybe the people who did it in the past, but focus on who you have right now, who really wants to help spread your word, to help you get a vision for yourself. Scorpio in the 6th house is connected to maybe a work environment that was probably a little intense. And maybe you have past memories of being in a work environment where you felt like you didn't have enough of your own power, right? Maybe not recognized for your skills or for your performance, your work performance, or not recognized for how you serve and how you contribute. And so this may be a time where you're fighting or fending, you know, for that. Or you may be really ready to just let it go. And that let it go is really a strong sign that you're embracing the unknown, which is the Taurus North Node with the Sun in your 12th house, of taking a hiatus, taking a break from everything, like really just choosing not to go there. And you may find that if you're still pulled towards like getting people to see something, or getting people to appreciate something in your work environment, like, then you're really still stuck in fighting with an older version of you, because I think a lot of people already see it. And the people who don't, well, they don't for a reason, to show you that certain things can't be forced, that certain things have to happen with ease. And maybe once you recognize this ease that needs to occur for you, which is this 12th house Taurus energy, which is really not putting too much effort and recognizing that value can be almost enough. And really self-sabotaging yourself because you didn't see your value. So you do extra stuff. You fight extra hard. And this modality here is really allowing you to really craft some balance with that. You may be able to take on your backpack of tricks that, you know, you won't let people speak to you in a certain way. You won't let people come to certain conclusions about you in a certain way anymore. So you might have, you know, you have lessons that you learned, but the world that you had to learn those lessons in doesn't need your focus, attention, or even time or energy anymore. And when you really realize that, you'll see the manifesting power, the ability for you to expand beyond just this little bubble that quite often happens in the 6th house, the work environment. With Scorpio in the 7th house, this is really about letting go of people who may have really projected on you, people who really may have tried to control or manipulate you in ways that were more forceful, right, rather than loving. Because manipulation can be something that can be used Honestly, when we're understanding Taurus and manifestation, the ability to manipulate matter is a beautiful thing. But here with Scorpio in the 7th house, this sort of manipulation may have, just been happening too long, may have gone too far in certain partnerships, and you may have had to find a way to get out of certain things or choose the right types of people to be around. So some of you may have, the partner that you always wanted, and now don't have to fight so hard against old concepts and old ideas of what a partnership should be. And some of you may be leaving a partnership and really still holding on to the version of yourself that was in that partnership versus the new version of you that wants to really shine, which when we look at Taurus in your 1st house, it's about really learning how to shine and go after you. It's just going after you chasing yourself, you growing yourself, you being resourceful for you, you focusing on your beauty and care and pampering just for you versus for someone else. These are certain things that might happen with this placement. With Scorpio in the 8th house, this might be a time when you're really letting go of needing other people to support you financially. It might be a time when you are going through a metaphysical divorce, if not a real one. Maybe a metaphysical divorce of an old version of you that didn't trust people when you worked with them or when you shared money with them. You may not have even trust some of the people that you've had sex with. You may have had trust issues there. And so you've learned a lot, and you've learned what to take with you in these relationships. But you may find that you're still triggered by certain things. You may find certain conflicts around money. And if you're finding any sort of conflicts, emotional frustration around money, it's really signifying that the Scorpio part of you is still in survival mode, about maybe feeling like people are taking advantage of you or people are stealing money from you. And the more that you're able to see that that's over, and what's really coming in is you recognizing all of the opportunities for you to see your own value and make money out of your own creative talents, and allowing your partnerships to kind of give a rest of your focus. You not focusing too much on what they're doing at all, especially in regards to money, and even in regards to like you connecting that intimately with them. It's like you are connected with them. You're taking the intimacy that you have, but you're kind of using what you have taken from other people, that intimacy, learning how to trust, learning how to do this, and you're putting it back into you. You're putting it back into your value. So what parts of you have grown from learning how to be vulnerable, and what parts of you have grown from learning how to share and learning how to know when to say no to people, right? So that they don't take advantage of you. And now you're like cultivating that in your own world and in your own appetites for life. Like what is it that really calls your tastes and dislikes, and really going for your tastes. This is Taurus in the 2nd house, really going after those tastes and recognizing how they show you what you value, and how that has a bigger meaning than maybe what it has seemed before, right? Maybe it even was considered shallow. You may be dealing with feelings of being too shallow, right? Because this is the natural place for Taurus, which can have the shadow of that, being too superficial or whatever, too materialistic, especially in any Venusian arena. So Taurus and Libra, but in Taurus it may be like, just the money issue, and you may have fears about this, but really this is unknown territory. And when you're walking into unknown territory in Taurus, you can never be too materialistic. You haven't done it enough in a lot of ways. You're probably in a space where you don't take as good care of yourself. You don't really buy things for yourself. You're not really doing those things, and you're needing to now. And these next 4 to 6 months are allowing you to let go of the survivalist era energy so that you can really start to do those things. Go on a shopping spree, go get pampered, get a massage, get a facial, take care of yourself. Do it for you. Don't buy gifts for other people. Don't buy massages for other people. Buy massages for you. Things like that. Okay, so with Scorpio in the 9th house, it's a time where you're letting go of, excuse me, maybe any sort of community or religion or belief set that has been in a survival mode, and this is really interesting thing because, we don't necessarily look at certain states of spirituality to be something where you had to be in a survival mode, but it really is in a lot of ways. A lot of us turn to spirituality for that crises that we're going through. And so we find this with people who have a placement of Scorpio in the ninth house, the true energy behind why does someone need to learn astrology? Why does someone need to go to church or whatever? And it's usually because we're searching for that connection to something higher. We're searching for something beyond physical. We're searching for a solution, a resolution to a crisis, right? And so you may have been on this search. You may have been on this journey for a while. And you may have conflict right now in still needing to search. So maybe like there's certain things that are calling you more to be just local, to be just kind of like not going anywhere, and you're still needing to go. You're still needing to search. And if you're having any of these situations, this is deeply connected to a trauma response, and it's about letting go of the crises that you haven't found who you are. You haven't discovered who you are yet. Like when people go on journeys to discover who they are, or you haven't really, if you're dealing with certain belief sets, like you might be hungry still to like learn more about, human design, you might want to learn more about tarot, like you might want to learn more about Buddhism and things like that. You might want to keep searching for the truth behind life, the elixir to, immortality. You may be really still wrapped up in that world, but there's something that's really calling for you to get out of it, because it's all kind of pulling you out of reality. And when we look at Taurus in your third house, where the sun and north node is, that's the environment around you and how that's the real reality. That's what's really real, and so it's absolutely okay to go off and journey out into the world and discover things. But quite often we'll find where the practicality of Taurus is that it's already right here in front of you. Like, you might be thinking it's something extra, something deep, and sometimes it's just the people in your life, your family, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts, like that's it. And sometimes we escape from that and we want to go find something else. And I think that this placement might be the one that is dealing with these kinds of circumstances that there's nothing to find. Like, everything is right here in front of you. And kind of learning how to be comfortable with that. You might be dealing with issues of boredom and being idle, but you're really supposed to be finding these states so that you can create something out of this boredom, create things out of this idleness, instead of reacting and responding to the spiritual realm and the higher echelons of, our spirituality, basically. With Scorpio in the 10th house, you're letting go of the need to fight for your reputation. This could be people who have had scandals, or people who have been exposed on some sort of public level, and maybe you really had to learn how to fend for yourself and show people who you really are, and make sure that your title hasn't been defamed or taken down off the door, basically. And it's over, that fight for people to see you, for people to know who you really are, for the justice of what has been defamed or dethroned about you. You may be attached to those things, feeling like that's it. Like, I can never not look away. I can never not look away from this arena, because as soon as I do, somebody's going to come in and create another scandal about me, or create another rumor and go online, or something like that. So you may be dealing with that, but really it's really safe. And even if you're in the middle of something right now, it's probably really going to just push you towards being in your house and learning how to enjoy that, because you really that's your oasis. That's the true sacred space that you can control, and for those who are in the middle of something, it's going to push you towards that. But if you're not in the middle of something, you may just be feeling the urge and the pull to still fight for people to see you, and you just don't. Like, they see, you don't have to, because they see you already. They see what you need them to see, and really now you just have to cultivate peace. You have to peace yourself by creating sacred routines in your home, and taking out the trash, and really enjoying that part of your life versus the part of your life that you can't always control, which is how long somebody will create a rumor about you. Like sometimes you just really can't control those things. And so having Taurus in your 4th house will pull you towards that. And if you're having conflict, it's because you're just not willing to stay at home and wash the dishes and watch TV on the couch and invite people over and have dinners and just enjoy, your home, paint the walls or decorate and enjoy what you can control. With Scorpio in the 11th house, this is connected to influence and people who can really move around and take care of things for you. But this is really a time where you may have had certain trauma responses towards people not taking care of you, fighting for impact, like trying to say something and it just not making waves at all, trying to get seen, trying to get respected, trying to get power, and it not really going anywhere. And it's really connected to the fact that the way that you've been doing it's old. It's based off of an energy that maybe even people don't want to live that lifestyle anymore. Like where Scorpio is in the 11th house, it's a lifestyle with the South Node here. It's like a lifestyle of having to survive, and maybe people don't want to just survive. They don't want to just live a lifestyle. And the influencer who's like, yo, like, let me show you how to survive in the dystopian era, they may not have an easy time right now, because people want a lifestyle that is Taurian right now. They want that lifestyle that's gonna give them the luxury that they want, and of the power that you have in stepping down from your influence, from making waves. The power that you have will come back tenfold. It will come back tenfold because it's really just about you needing to control it. That's the issue. The minute that you step away, you will see that you make waves. And really, where are you stepping away to? You're stepping away to that Taurus in the 5th house, which is connected to your creativity and your sense of inner child and your light and joyness. So you're really going to find in this placement, I think, for a lot of people, the power of manifestation, that things don't matter. Like you can like create something that you think is shitty and like put it out as like an art piece, right? And people may say, "Oh, this is awful. I hate it. It's too crises. It's too dark. Whatever. I just don't like it." Right? And so you're trying to get people to like it, and they just don't like it even more because you're trying to show them how they should like it, and they don't want to like it. But then you just look away. You go off and play. Go off and have a good time somewhere. Go watch a movie. Go to a concert. And then all of a sudden, all the people who were saying that they didn't like it, they're starting to like this dark thing that they didn't like. So literally, you didn't change anything. But the energy shifts with you finding your joy changed everything. And that's the power, I think, that can really be found here. The emotional shifts. And now lastly, if you have Scorpio in the 12th house, this is a space where you may have had to survive and really learn how to be on your own. And so now you're really learning how to kind of be a real human again with Taurus in the 6th house. So there may be aspects of you that just are really just out of pocket and out of place in what people will consider quote unquote normal. And there's things that you can really be prideful about with that. It's going to make you unique. It's going to make you be seen. It's going to make you attractive to be different, but holding on too much to the difference actually is not helping you at this time. There's a part of you that needs to integrate your bizarreness, this inner bizarre world that you created, and make it something that is real, that can be integrated into everyday life. And it could be something that makes you realize, humbles you to the sense of not making you feel less than, but making you just feel human. make it reminding you that you're human, because you may have really been in this space of survival and have really recognized your outer body power, right? Your power beyond the physical. And we need you back in the physical now. We need you to keep that power, right? But make it in flesh and bone. Make it something that people can relate to. People can want to hang around you. Like, you can be almighty and powerful, but you'll feel like you're in prison if you can't even, just be around people. Just even tolerate them. Could be something that is happening here. So I just encourage you to see how you can integrate the lessons that you've learned in your omnipotence. Like, you're just everything. You're beyond powerful, and put it into a regular being, which is your human body, and be God. What if God was one of us song, like, be a God that's messy, that needs to change their clothes and take a shower and go to the doctor, but you're still owning your God power in this sense. So I hope that this talk will really help to be a resource for you guys, and even for myself, as we move through these next 4 to 6 months, recognizing that we're going through this change, and it's not change. Absolutely can be instant for you, but the window, the journey that is on for these next 4 to 6 months is you being a witness to how amazing your life can open up as you walk away from this trauma response in these arenas of your life. So thank you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Peace and love.